have a chat, shall we?
Let's have a chat. What have we been doing for the last half hour?
We got an email from Kyle Barrett, which I thought could open up an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So, Kyle says, with the news that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon 2 will be Netflix's first feature film, does this mark the start of a new era of film viewing and making? Netflix is currently dominating the television market with its mostly great original programming such as House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. So will this venture see the company come to the forefront of an increasingly stagnant film industry? Will the cinema become less popular with audiences when great films are released at the same time worldwide and can be viewed when and how the viewer wants? Or will it just become the latest fad that won't last very long? What do you guys think?
Oh, wow, what a great question.
Thank you, Kyle. So, yeah, this was big news this week that it's going to be next summer that Crouching Tiger will premiere in cinemas and on Netflix on the same day. And interestingly, there's an addition to this, which I mentioned to Alex just before we came on air. Several cinema chains have said they will now be boycotting the film in America because the big thing for the cinema chains is to have this window, which is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah. Why would you go to the cinema if you've got it on Netflix for £6?
Well, I don't know, because of the spectacle.
Experience.
Yeah, maybe, but...
It's like, you didn't really enjoy Gravity as much as the rest of us, and you watched it on a small screen.
But I would say that Gravity is probably more geared towards that than Crouching Tiger.
Yeah, but I think Crouching Tiger is going to be in... I mean, it's one of my favourite action movies.
Is it?
Yeah, I absolutely love the original.
Spectacle.
And I think they were talking about it being in 3D as well.
Yeah, right.
That's really appealing to me. Like, more and more, I think, of the big movies now they're trying to give you all these different hooks to make, the IMAX and the 3D to make you need to see them on the big screen.
Yeah.
I mean, the Christopher Nolan movies and all the superhero movies. So I can see myself still going to the cinema.
So this
it's just when it's the drama, when it's a film without the bangs and whistles.
Yeah.
Then I totally agree. I'll watch that at home.
Well, I think we do that sometimes. If you miss a film at the cinema, you go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't feel like a cinema film to me. I can imagine myself equally enjoying that, watching that on a small screen.
Yeah.
Increasingly, your small screen is an increasingly bigger screen.
Yeah.
And a more cinema-like experience in terms of quality and stuff like that. But this is kind of the internet version of something that happened with Ben Wheatley's film. Field in England, because that did a simultaneous release in cinemas and on DVD and Blu-ray. So this is almost like pushing it a little bit further, that you don't even have to go out and buy a Blu-ray DVD. It's going to be like coming straight to your house.
Well, it was on Film 4 as well.
Of course it was as well. Of course it was.
So was it part of, like, you get it for your £6 a month Netflix package, or do you have to pay
this particular deal?
Yeah.
I don't know the ins and outs, but I would imagine it's going to be part of your... There's going to be no additional cost to that. I'm sure of it.
Netflix must have paid a ton of cash for that.
But at the same time, it's not a huge release. I don't think it hasn't got because this is the less appealing aspect of this particular film. It's not got the same director. I don't think it's got the same actors.
Right.
So it's going to be one of those sequels more in name than actual.
It's been a long time since the last one.
It's been a long time. So this isn't actually a huge release, this movie.
Yeah.
It sounds huge because obviously the name and
it's not like Gone Girl is doing this.
Yeah.
This week this is a film that they probably did a reasonable deal on it, but I don't think they would have had to break the bank to do this. It was just, it's the first one.
It's a good stepping stone, though, because the next Gone Girl, I wouldn't be astonished if that happens. Because obviously, Fincher says he has a relationship making stuff for Netflix. Stuff like this is going to happen and chip away at it. The Daredevil, the Marvel TV show, again, is going to raise the kind of prestige of Netflix.
Well, that's what I wonder is if it will just change the kind of films we see in cinemas, and this kind of, which is already happening if you look at the box office, but. All dramas, all thrillers will go on telly at the same time as the cinemas, and then it will be the blockbusters, the ones that have the window.
Yeah, you've almost seen that already with Netflix and documentaries. Like documentaries, notoriously hard to secure a distributor for, especially at a nationwide level. Just go straight to Netflix. You'll get a much bigger following and audience, and then you might be able to do a cinema release at the same time in some way.
I wonder if they'll get because obviously they will need an uplift in terms of subscribers in order for it to make kind of business sense. I don't know. Not based on one film, I wouldn't. But obviously I don't get to go to the cinema that much. Having the ability to see films at the same time as you guys, without having to kind of organise a babysitter or this, that, and that sounds really appealing to me.
Well, no one's going to buy Netflix for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon 2, no. I don't believe. But I bought Netflix because of Breaking Bad.
Right.
So if they did a deal like that with a studio where Fincher's next 5 films are on Netflix, then maybe that would be the hook for other people.
Yeah.
or a certain back. All the Bond films suddenly come to Netflix.
The problem with Netflix,
it's like iTunes. A lot of people. Sorry, go on.
Well, you can just disappear. Like you can subscribe and then you can leave it. So you subscribe and pay a month or get your free month. And like the number of oh, come back to Netflix, please. Here's a month. Here's 3 months.
Yeah,
it's easy to
do it all for free.
Yeah.
Well, you say that. I'm not.
You don't like it, but I thought
I just don't consume enough TV at home to make it valid.
I wanted to look up a quote because I think it's pertinent here. It's the Lucas and Spielberg take on what's going to happen to cinemas over the next kind of 10 years, 10, 20 years. You're going to end up with fewer theatres, bigger theatres with a lot of nice things. Going to the movies will cost $50 or $100 or $150 like what Broadway costs today, or a football game. So this idea that cinemas will remain, but like you're saying, that experience of having all the bells and whistles will become more and more pronounced. And it will be like going to the theatre, where it's like a special event and a special occasion.
Well, some of my friends who are geeky film people like myself, they go to the cinema mainly to the Prince Charles to watch
event
stuff, old stuff, double bills and classic 80s movies and things like that. And for me, I've talked about it before on here, but the cinemas I go to in Austin, the Draft House cinemas, the experience they give me would make me leave my home. The food, the drink, just the trailers, the strictness with which they won't let anyone have their phone on at any point during the film or talk. That would get me out of my house.
Or Secret Cinema recently, of course.
Yeah, Secret Cinema event. And equally, I emailed you guys yesterday because I thought it was pretty amazing, the news that the biggest film this week in UK cinemas wasn't The Equalizer, which was the big new release, but it was One Day, a live screening of Billy Elliot. And it's the first time an event screening has gone to number 1 in the UK box office. That's really interesting to me. That
people watching a film of the stage show rather than going to the stage show
unlike
itself.
the smaller kind of independent or art house cinemas have been doing this in the last few years. Like they show the National Opera in cinemas. They show I watched Danny Boyle's Frankenstein in the cinema.
I haven't done the opera thing, but my uncle said it was the most wonderful. He went a few weeks ago. He said it was just the most wonderful experience. Like you really felt like you were there. And there's additions. You go backstage beforehand. And they talk to the cast and things, and it's so cheap. It's like £10 rather than £100.
I just remember something else. Like some cinemas show Wimbledon and they show the World Cup. So it's using theatres as theatres for places of public broadcast, but not necessarily film theatres.
Yeah.
Well, we watched the first episode of the last season of Breaking Bad
and Gotham
in a cinema,
the week as well.
And Gotham. With TV being so good, again, the Draft House has done that before. They screen Game of Thrones or Mad Men. Because the TV's become such a kind of collective experience now that we're all talking about the next day at work. Why not watch it with your friends?
I've thought about this for years now, and I feel it's a case that Netflix is being really innovative, progressive, pushing the envelope, and cinemas are staying static and just jacking up the prices elsewhere rather than offering a more diverse experience. Like some cinemas offering sport and theatre are trying to do that. And for ages, when you watch when Game of Thrones starts and you look at it and you look how beautiful it looks, you look at production values, I would totally pay for a season pass at a cinema and say, here's 30, 40 quid up front, and I can go every week for 12 weeks and watch the entire season on a big screen.
Or binge watching. You do the marathon at home. Why not have the option of doing it that weekend in a cinema, watching all 10 House of Cards if you want to do that.
You know so many people who do these marathons and they watch in their living room and it's middle of the day. They could go somewhere special and there's like food and drink put on.
But it's the environment, I think. And like the multiplex environment is just unpleasant. But we've got like a little local cinema where we live, and you can sit there, you have a table to yourself, you can have drinks there.
It's very civilised.
And it's very civilised.
Put your feet up. There's an article in Time Out this week with they're trying to find London's best cinema, and that's interesting. They've got various celebrities talking about their local, and someone's got the Curzon Soho, someone the Prince Charles, someone the Leicester Square, and it's not. Maybe they need to become more of these cultural local hubs rather, because the multiplex did come to dominate. But I feel like more and more now people are moving away from that because of the texting and the talking and the lack of manners these days in the cinema.
I think it's you feel more justified paying a higher cinema ticket price if you go somewhere and it's also a beautiful place to be for a few hours.
You have a glass of wine in the bar beforehand.
You go, I feel like I've had a proper night out, rather than going to a multiplex where it's just awful and your shoes are sticking to the floor and I feel terrible.
I feel like it's an interesting time we're at though, isn't it? It's an interesting time though. Like I think it'll be in 10 years' time. It'll be a very different world we live in terms of how we watch movies and where we watch them. But where that'll be, I don't know. But it's a great question, Carl. It'd be good to hear everyone, the listeners' thoughts on this.
Yeah. How do they get in touch?
I've got no idea. I reckon they could email IGN_UKfeedback@ign.com.
Yes.
I think you might be right.
That's the first time I've ever got that right.
Yeah.
Well done.